the chat, but please do reach out for that habit canvas access, because it's a fantastic technique for you to use to bring that concept of learning and development, professional growth and development into that 45%. We don't want feast or famine, remember? We want to integrate learning into who we are so that we can constantly be a learning modern leader as opposed to just delivery and then development. Now, got another 2 numbers for you. What do these 2 numbers mean? What's the significance of these 2 numbers in today's weekly roundtable? We had 45 and 95, if you remember what they meant, thanks to Lorraine. 45% of our day is unconscious practice. So we're trying to tap into that unconscious practice in terms of growth and development, because if we can do that, it doesn't matter how complex our delivery is, it doesn't matter how stressful our delivery is, if our learning habits and our growth and development habits are firmly embedded in that 45%, they'll still be there. And then we have 95%. And 95%, of course, is 95% of our decisions in any day are unconscious. 95% of our decision making every day is unconscious practice. So again, if we have got learning as a habit, as part of who we are and our identity, then that means that we are serving better decision making automatically. Now, 28 and 66. I wonder, Lorraine, do you know what 28 and 66 is? Does anybody else on the chat, can you hazard a guess at what's important about 28 and 66? What's the significance of these 2 numbers in our ability to bring learning, growth, and professional development into who we are, our habits, and our identity? What's important about these 2 numbers? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It takes 28 days to establish a habit, not activate it or embed it, but to establish it. 4 weeks, 28 days. That's just to establish it. That's to get out of the starting gate. 66, what the relevance of that number is that on average, it takes 66 days to activate a habit, activate toward embed. Now, 66 is the average. It can be, depending on the complexity of your habit, go up to 268 days in terms of, the research study, but the mean average is 66. So when you're thinking about establishing your habit, you want to give yourself 28 days. Once you've got to 28 days, then you know that you've got a root system to get into activating that habit through to 66 days. When you get to 66 days, you can then start thinking to yourself, I might be now ready to embed this habit. 28 days, 1, establish. 66 days, 2, activate. Keep going, 3, embed. You want to get beyond your 66 days to embed that habit so that it becomes part of your identity. Really important point. So we've got 4 numbers today to play around with, haven't we? We've got 45, 95, 28, 66. We know those 4 numbers. We are on our way to understanding how we can bring the concept of learning and development and professional growth into our identity. And that means we will establish a harmony. It means that we will not become a slave to that feast or famine. That sense of delivery, 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 target, 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 deadline, deadline, deadline. Then stop, then breathe. Oh my goodness, look how the world has changed. I need to go and learn and develop. I need to focus on my learning and development until the next project. We don't want that feast and famine. We don't want to be in and out and oscillate. We want harmony. And the way to harmonize is, of course, to bring learning and development and professional growth into our identity, into our habitual practice as a leader. And that's really what we're after today. Now, back to that box number 8. Do you remember I said that I would come back to it? The acceleration, the things that can catalyze your ability to keep going, to stay the course, to embed your habit. This is it. Learning is accelerated when socialized. So as soon as we start thinking about professional growth, learning and development, let's not think about what articles I want to read, what podcasts I want to listen to, what conferences I want to attend, what qualifications and courses and programs I want to sign up to. Let's think instead about what we are going to do with new knowledge, new ideas, new connections. How do we socialize our learning to accelerate? Because if we socialize our learning, we accelerate it, but we also strengthen our ability to embed it in our unconscious practice. And that's so incredibly important. Now, how do we socialize our learning? Well, we can socialize our learning by sharing. We can socialize our learning by teaching. And we can also socialize our learning by coaching. And what I mean by that is to ask open questions of other people to see and help them discover how they might also embark on something like what we're seeing here. So as you're hearing my words, as you're looking at this slide in front of you now, what I'd ask you to do is this. Even if you are familiar with what you've heard today, if what you've heard today is new, how might you, after today's session, accelerate one tiny element of what you've heard today? Could you share it? Could you teach it? Or could you coach? What could you do? And are you willing to do it, to take action, to socialize, to accelerate, to embed? I wonder. Alrighty. Well, that's a little bit about today. So today was all about how do we stop being the slave to learning and development, because we are always in this feast and famine, is bringing harmony to who we are so that we are constantly developing our identity. We have a learning habit and we are able to deliver and develop at the same time. Deliver and develop at the same time. That should be part of our identity. That's what we've talked about today. And that is a key part, of course, of our Practitioner Leadership Academy. And as always, I say to everybody, every single one of these weekly leadership roundtables just gives you a little bit of a hint and a nudge towards some of the content concepts of the framework, which is the Dilyn Way, and it's part of our programs in the Practitioner Leadership Academy. So if you would like to know a little bit more about that, if you want to know what it means to humanize transformation, if you really want to know what agile at scale means, if you hear people talking about that in your professional life and in your conversations, if you see it in strategy, if you want to know about what that means, then in the chat, you will see that I've already put a little link there that you can log on and join one of my strategy sessions. They're one-to-one strategy sessions. They are absolutely confidential. It would be just you and me, and I'd be able to talk to you a little bit more about humanizing transformation, agile at scale, and of course the Practitioner Leadership Academy. So take that opportunity, right? That is free. That is for you. That is an opportunity for you to have some one-on-one time with myself. And in that session, what we will talk about is we will talk about where you are. What we will talk about is where you want to be. And what we will talk about is how we map that through framework and program opportunity. That's what that will be all about.